Welcome everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm in the kitchen doing a lot of prep. I'm going to be prepping onions, bell peppers, some other things. You can never have enough onions, bell peppers, celery, carrots during the fall. Because basically when you're doing soups, chowders, stews, those are the basics that go into everything. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to also be doing a recipe for broccoli cheddar soup. And I need to get started on that. So let's get that going. Okay, so one of the first things that I want to do is I've got some Tillamook cheddar cheese that's going to go in our broccoli cheese soup. So what I want to do is open it up and get it shredded. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this whole block of cheese when it comes to making this cheddar soup. Don't you just hate that when everything kind of just sticks in there? But we'll use it. When the weather changes, we like to have soups, chowders, stews. I just love fall for that reason. All right, so I need to put on gloves because I have a little bit of a boo-boo on my finger, and I want to protect it. And if I can find them, the only gloves I have are black. Could not find anything in white, clear, pink, blue, purple, and all I have is black. So we'll get that on and we'll get going. Oh, and these gloves are so tight. I don't know if this is going to work or not with both hands. All right, so one of the first things I need to do... Oh, it's not going to work. Okay, so one of the first things I need to do, besides getting this glove on, is to cut up an onion for the broccoli cheddar soup. And I'm going to use a medium white. And all I'm going to do is just cut it up, run it through the food processor. Makes it a little easier when doing it that way. The problem we have here is that these are store-bought onions, and they're not always the greatest. So you have stuff like this. And believe it or not, these onions were just bought. So I want to make sure that all the bad parts are off of it. Get all that out. Whew, they're strong. And I'm just going to put it on a low. Woo! Now, as you can see, I don't know if I like this KitchenAid thing too much, because what happens is no matter what size you put in here, you always get chunks. And I'm not really a fan of all that chunk. So you get pieces like this at the end. Give me a minute here because the onions are a little strong. Okay, so in a pot, let's get this going. We're going to put in a whole stick of butter. And we want it to melt and get all bubbly. All right, so what I'm going to do is I've added a stick of butter into the pot, and I'm going to show you a little trick to help sweat your onions. You take and you put a little bit of oil into your butter, and what it does is it helps keep the butter from burning. And it just adds a little more something to the flavor. So, as you can see, the butter is starting to bubble, which is what we want. And what we're trying to do is prevent it from burning. All right, this is perfect. So what I'm going to do now is just add the onions. And I'm just going to stir it for about 2 to 3 minutes because the food processor chopped them up really nice and fine, and that's all it will take. All right, to your onions and your butter, you're going to add flour. And I'm adding about 2 tablespoons. At this point, you want to whisk, and you want to make sure that your flour doesn't burn. Turning down the temperature to about a medium. Okay, and then to this, I'm going to add about 16 ounces of chicken stock or chicken broth. Now we want this to come up to a boil. All right, so while I'm waiting for the mixture to cook, boil up, we're going to prepare our broccoli, and you want about 5 to 6 cups of broccoli florets. And what I'm going to do is I'm doing it in a chunky method. So I need to rinse everything off, as you can see here. Rinse everything off, and then cut everything up to a nice chunky consistency. Now I'm going to cut it up. I'm cutting the bottoms off because they're not really all that great. Some of them are brown. You don't want that. And I'm going to try to get some of these leaves off. You don't have to take them all off. You're going to cut them up anyways. So I just cut my broccoli heads in big chunks. And I'm going to take and cut the bottom and then cut it some more. Because I like pieces about this big. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut them in half. And I'm going to go cut them lengthwise in half. And then I'm just going to chop them. All right, we've added the carrots to the mixture. And we're going to let that cook down for a little bit. We'll want them to get somewhat tender, and then we'll add the broccoli. All right, to this recipe, I need to add milk and half and half. So let's get that out. I just happen to have both. I also have whipping cream. What happens when you have too much stuff in your fridge. Okay, put the whipping cream away. Now I need, the recipe calls for 4 cups of milk. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 3. 3 cups of milk and then a cup and a half. Hard to do it with one hand. Okay. So a cup and a half of half and half. All right. Now I have the stove on a low. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it up to about medium. And we're going to start adding it in. To this, we're going to add about 5 to 6 cups of broccoli. And what we're going to do is we're just going to let it go until it's nice and tender, then we'll add the cheese. All right, we're adding in our broccoli. Now we want it to where you can do it several ways. You can do it to where the broccoli is al dente, which means it's just a little crunchy. You can do it really soft. And I'm going to do it about a medium to where it's kind of cooked. Okay, now what I'm going to do is just mix that in. And then we're going to cover it. One thing I almost forgot. You season this to taste. And I'm going to use a little bit of pepper. It tastes really good if you have white pepper. But I don't have any white pepper. All right, we're just going to cover that up. And let's see what it looks like. Here's one tip for you. If you want to make it close to the Panera version, add just a pinch of nutmeg. Okay, so now we're starting to bubble. So we're starting to boil here. I'm going to turn it down just a little bit. And it's hot enough. So we're going to add our cheese. This is 8 ounces of sharp cheddar. And we're just going to keep mixing it in until it's mixed in. And there you go. We're going to let this cook about 10 minutes on the stove, and then it will be ready. So this is what it's starting to look like. You're getting a nice boil on it. We're going to take a taste of this and see how it tastes. Oh. Mm. That's really good. You actually do not need salt with this. This is perfect. I'm going to have some lunch. Oh, this looks so good. All right, this is what it looks like. I hope you enjoyed this recipe for broccoli cheddar soup as much as I do. We'll see you on the next one. Bye. Mm.